Hello, I thought I'd give you an update on where we are with my recovery from my partial thyroidectomy. So tomorrow will be 2 weeks since surgery. I'm going today to have the stitches removed. I went last week, a little over a week ago, to have the drain tube removed. I have just a little scar there from the drain tube and the stitch that held it in. And now I'll be having the stitches removed today. My voice is getting better and stronger, but I'm reminded that it's going to take a while to be able to get it completely back to normal, which really is a miracle because the doctor said he really had a hard time getting my left lobe of the thyroid peeled off of the vocal nerves. I had previously had radioactive iodine ablation, approximately 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and which caused the thyroid to shrivel up and become hard and attached to the elements around it. The surgery included a left lobe thyroidectomy and also nodules removed from the right lobe. Because of the damage that was done to the vocal nerve, the doctor chose not to go ahead and take the right lobe, and also during surgery the pathology did not see any cancer indicated during that test, during the surgery, so they decided to leave the right lobe in hopes to leave me a voice. I'm still working on how to keep my voice clear. It gets raspy, or it gets where I feel like I have something stuck in my throat and I have to swallow or clear my throat. But I hope that improves. I originally had my surgery on Wednesday, September 8th, and had planned to go back on the next Monday until I heard that a friend of mine, that my daughter's friend's mother had the same surgery and had taken 2 weeks off of work. So I decided to take 2 weeks off after the surgery. I am so glad I did. Yesterday was 12 days post-surgery, and I was exhausted. There is no way I could have driven to work or walked from the parking garage to my office and to the classroom. So anyways, today I'm looking forward to finding out more about the surgery and what this is going to look like after getting the stitches out, and also the full pathology report. They were going to test everything they took out and measure. I'm curious to see the measurements, what the measurements were. So anyways, glad I did this. Glad we were able to get everything out that needed to get out. And if any cancer is found from the nodules from the right lobe, they are going to go back in and take the right lobe as well. I don't know when that would be or how soon, but so we're praying for a very clear, fully clear, and non-cancerous pathology report. So yeah, that's it. Take care. Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about my thyroid surgery. It's been 5 weeks and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 2 days. So 5 weeks since my surgery. This is not my normal voice. Hello and welcome, and I'll tell you why. So my story begins several years ago when my gynecologist, who regularly checks my thyroid, felt a nodule on my thyroid. I began going to an endocrinologist. At the time, the endocrinologist that I had thought it necessary to put me on Synthroid, thyroid medication. Told me at the time that they thought that would shrink the nodule, the goiter. So I took that for a while, and of course that didn't help. Well, several years later, I was having palpitations. I look back now and I think maybe that what I thought was PMS and anxiety could have been my thyroid. Anyways, I was getting ready to start the school year. I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher now for about 18, going on 19 years. Anyways, about 11 years ago, I was getting ready for the beginning of school, and my heart started racing terribly. So I called my daughter and told her it's happening again. And she's like, go to the hospital. So I went to the emergency room. And of course, they immediately hooked me up to an EKG, check everything, ran all kinds of tests. The only thing they could find was that my thyroid was way out of whack. I had hyperthyroid at the time. So, hold on. This is important after surgery. Lubrication. I'll talk more later about speech therapy, vocal therapy that I'm getting ready to start because of what happened during surgery. So anyways, when my hyperthyroidism was discovered, I went to my PCP and he referred me to an endocrinologist, an amazing endocrinologist who has taken care of me as if I was his own daughter. He's very adamant about me taking care of my thyroid functioning, keeping lab work up to date. So I keep that up to date. So for several years after the discovery of hyperthyroid and some ultrasounds of my thyroid and measuring the nodules that I had on both lobes, the doctor gave me the option to have surgery to remove my thyroid or to have radioactive iodine ablation. I chose the radioactive iodine ablation. That consists of going to the hospital, taking a radioactive pill, staying there for just a short time. I think I was there for a couple of hours, and then coming home and staying isolated for 4 to 5 days, I believe. I wasn't allowed to be around any people in my house, any small dogs, which at the time I did have a small Chihuahua, and so she wasn't able to be around me. I had to stay secluded in a room. So that, like I said, was about 10 or 11 years ago. And so I had the radioactive iodine about 11 years ago. It took, so the radioactive iodine ablation is a procedure that then will basically kill your thyroid, stop it from being hyperactive, and bring it down to either a normal range or to a functioning level where it's not functioning and you need to take thyroid medication for hypothyroid. Well, it took a couple of years. My doctor was very surprised, but after about 2 or 3 years, I did experience some low numbers, actually high numbers meaning low thyroid. I'll talk about that in another video. But I began taking medication. And once again, the same endocrinologist gave me the option to take medication or go ahead and remove the thyroid. I chose to take medication. My numbers continued to get worse. And the doctor noticed that on my left lobe that the nodule seemed to be growing. So we did an ultrasound, and sure enough, the measurements from the previous ultrasound indicated that the nodules on my left lobe were growing rapidly. So they set me up for a fine needle biopsy. I went in for the fine needle biopsy. It was an ultrasound guided biopsy, which I talk about in another video also. From that biopsy, they determined they could not get the cells needed to decipher whether or not it was cancer. So because the nodules were growing rapidly and because we couldn't tell whether or not it was cancer, the doctor, my endocrinologist, referred me to an ENT surgeon to do another ultrasound. Actually, it was the ENT surgeon who did who referred me for the fine needle biopsy. Those results came back to the ENT surgeon, and they were undetermined. They could not determine whether or not it was cancer, so his recommendation was that we have it removed. Now, I am very thankful that I remembered, and I recommend this, I remembered to go and meet with the surgeon the week prior to my surgery, and because that surgeon was new to me and did not have all of my records, he was not aware that I also had nodules on my right thyroid lobe. And so I mentioned those and asked that during surgery he would consider taking both lobes if possible. Now remember, I had had the radioactive iodine ablation. Because of that, it caused the lobes of the thyroid to shrink and harden and become calcified. So there was significant amount of calcification. So for me, my situation's different, and I've watched several videos of other people and their experiences with their thyroid surgery, and they were very helpful to me. However, because everyone's situation is different, I thought I would go ahead and post my story in case someone out there relates to my story just a little bit better. So we scheduled the surgery. It was actually September the 8th, which is my birthday, 5.5 weeks ago. And the doctor went in and took the left lobe. However, because of the radiation that had previously been done to my thyroid, the thyroid left lobe was attached to my vocal nerves, and he literally had to peel it off of my vocal nerves, causing damage to my voice. And because of that, and he had told me this, if he wasn't able to take the left lobe off of the vocal nerves without causing damage, he would not take the right lobe, because he said if he had damaged the right vocal nerves as he did, or as the lobe peeling off of it did, that I would have had to have had a tracheotomy. So he made the wise decision not to go ahead and take the right lobe. However, he did go over and take the nodules that were on my right lobe, and so that all of it could be sent off to pathology to determine whether or not in fact it was cancer or not. So the surgery went well. When I came out of surgery, I was in pain. I of course don't remember anything. There was a general anesthetic that completely knocked me out. In fact, I don't remember 2 seconds after my husband went to the waiting room. They knocked me out and I went straight to surgery. When I woke up, my throat was burning. I know because of the breathing tube, but also just from the work that had been done and the swelling. So I stayed in recovery for a good hour. I believe they were telling my husband and my daughter that they were trying to control the pain, discomfort. Eventually, I was able to suck on some ice pieces and get some comfort to my throat. And I was able to wake up a little bit more, get off of the pain medicine that they were giving me, and take me over to be with my husband in a waiting room, in a waiting area. So from there, that day, the day of the surgery, and pretty much the next day, I had a very hoarse voice. I could not speak very well. It was very, very hoarse. Eventually, I was able to swallow fine. I still can now. I can swallow fine. I can eat pretty much anything. It's funny because the smaller things is what's more difficult to to swallow than bigger chunks of food. It just seems like they get stuck. So I have to drink lots of water. Speaking of water. This is with me at all times. So anyways, a couple things I want to talk about are recommendations from the doctor as far as how to take care of the scar. So I'll let you see. This is my scar. So 5 weeks and 2 days after surgery. Now I'll tell you, the day after surgery and pretty much the next week, if I touch this, I told my husband, it feels like it's sticking out like a little platform. Like I felt like it was had a ledge on it, right? Now it doesn't, and I'll tell you why. I've not seen this on anybody else's video. My doctor suggested that I get these two things, and that is this Mederma scar cream and silicone scar sheets. It's important that you get these. So the Mederma scar cream has SPF in it, and you just simply keep it on all the time. Keep it on. And the scar sheets. I believe the scar sheets has really been what has allowed my scar to go down and almost completely flat. I can still feel it. I mean, I can still feel a bump on the side. I mean, I could find it by not looking, but it doesn't stick out like it was. The Mederma scar cream is crucial because any sun that gets to the scar in the next year and a half can cause the scar to turn dark. The doctor described to me it was like baby skin, and it needs to stay out of the sun. So I try to keep it covered with this at all times. And then when I can, wear something that covers it. I got a couple of scarves that I wear. So anyways, and then the silicone scar sheets. I want to talk about the silicone scar sheets because the instructions are clear. However, it's hard to imagine what you do with them. So because I feel like it would be helpful if I demonstrate this, I'm going to show you what you do. So these are the 1.5 inch by 7 inch scar sheets, and there come 6 of these, and they're expensive. Both of these are pretty expensive. I think $21 each. However, I've had this tube since surgery, so 5.5 weeks, and I think it'll last me a couple more weeks. These, you can reuse the scar sheets. So in one packet, you'll get 6 of them. Take one. And so what I do is, because I also had a drain tube. So I have a scar right here where the drain tube was, and I'm trying to take care of that scar just as much as this one where he cut me. So what I do is, so you open it up. So I've kind of figured out the measurements on this, and I just cut off the end like this because I don't need that amount for the long scar, but then I use this for the smaller scar. So I want to demonstrate how this goes on and then how you take it off. At first, taking it off was pretty scary. I didn't get my stitches out until 2 weeks after surgery, and then I could take a shower and I could wash it, and I could begin putting the scar sheets on. So you just peel the scar sheet off, and when you do, it's got a little divided portion to it. You take that off. There's no medicine on here. It's just silicone so that it will stick. And so when you take these off, take this off, and normally I'm not in my regular clothes. I'm doing this at night, so I wear one every night. Have since I took the stitches out. So then you just put it on your neck and stretch it out. So I stretch my neck, put it on, and pull it to the side. Get my necklace. I don't wear a necklace to bed either. But and then take it off. Go ahead and pull it all the way to the other side. And that's how it stays on. And then this other small piece, I do the same thing. Open it up. Take the little plastic pieces off of it. Use the sticky part. And then I just stretch it across that little hole there and press it down real tight. And then I go to bed. So I wear this every night. So in the morning then, so it tells you can reuse these. And the first time I took one off, I'm like, okay, where do I put it to keep it? So at first I was using a wash rag. So a washcloth, and I would lay it in the washcloth, but then it was getting some of the fuzz sticky to it. So now I just take it off, and you wash it. So take it off, just peel it. Now this is not pretty, but peel it, and excuse me, let me take the little one off first because it kind of goes over the top. So just peel it, and I just kind of hold the skin down while I'm peeling it, and then I get a paper towel. I'll run it under the sink, wash it off with soap, get a paper towel, and then I just stick it to the paper towel. And take off the other piece. Again, kind of just hold the skin down as you go across. Wash it under the sink, get all the hair out of it. Wash it under the sink with soap, and then again, I just put it on the paper towel. I put it on the paper towel. Right, it's kind of folded over and it does that. So again, there's no medicine on here. It's just sticky. But it is real sticky. So I'll use this one later, so I'm trying to save it. So I just put it in the middle of the paper towel. And then I fold the paper towel over and over again. And then I just put this in my bathroom. And then it's ready. It's ready for me to use it the next night. Okay. So there's that. Silicone scar sheets. Then the Mederma skin cream. I haven't put on some for a while. They say put this on about every 2, 3, 4 hours because it wears off just like sunscreen does. So I just put a little bit on my finger, rub it in. It's going to stay white for a little bit. At this point, at about 6 weeks, you can start massaging the scar so that it doesn't stay hard. My reports show that I had a significant amount of fibrosis, which is blood clots. Sorry, my puppy barking. So just rub that in. Go down and put some on the little scar. And then just let it sit for a little bit. And it eventually the whiteness will go away. Okay? So, now while that sits, go ahead and rub it in a little bit. Still a little tingly to the touch. My scar is still a little tingly on the sides. It's getting better. So now I want to talk about my voice. So, also I want to talk about exhaustion. So I took off work for 2 weeks after surgery. So I had my surgery on Wednesday. At first I thought I was going to go back to work on Monday. So I took off the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the following 2 weeks. And then I went back to work that next Monday. I really wasn't ready. I was still very exhausted. I know I'm not as young as I used to be, but I'm not that out of shape, really. So, but I was exhausted. Every day, I'd get up in the morning. I could sleep for another hour and a half, but I'd try to get up and do something, and I was exhausted. So my first week back to work was hard. I did bare minimum. I walked slow. I would walk slow from the parking garage to my office and then to the classroom. Very exhausted. It wasn't until last Sunday, which was 4.5 weeks about, that I realized I hadn't felt exhausted that day. But then the next day I was tired again, dizzy, exhausted. So I'm blessed to still have my mother, and she tells me all the time, reminds me it takes 6 weeks to get over any kind of surgery. Well, she's right. She's right. Last week, when I went back to the doctor for my 2-week checkup, and I was feeling just exhausted, I asked him how much longer I should expect to feel that way, and he said probably another 2 to 3 weeks. I said, well, if I'm still feeling this way in 2 weeks, can we increase my medication? Speaking of medication, I had been on levothyroxine 25 micrograms prior to surgery. The day after surgery, I started on 100 micrograms, and because I was still feeling exhausted and not up to par, last week he increased the medication to 112 micrograms, which I know is still lower than some people take, but it's much higher than I used to take. I also made the request if I could go ahead and seek out vocal therapy. As I mentioned, this is not my normal voice. I am normally where I can speak real high, but to me, it's a struggle. I am tired trying to speak. I have a speech pathologist friend who is helping me remember how to breathe, and I haven't been doing that while I've been doing this, but in through the nose, get that belly air and talk with that instead of trying to work so hard with the muscles in my throat to try to make voice. Anyhow, this week, my ENT surgeon gave approval for a speech or a vocal specialist to provide vocal therapy for me. Now we're just waiting on the insurance to see if the insurance will approve it, but they're planning to do, and I forget what's called, but a vocal video to look in at my vocal nerves to see if there's permanent damage or if there is just one of the vocal cords that's not moving like it should, and try to determine what kind of vocal therapy that I'll do. And I believe it'll be like once a week for about 4 weeks. So I hope to check back and have a stronger voice once I start that therapy. I hope this has been helpful to you, to somebody, to a friend, to a family member. Please pass it on. Please like and share, and maybe we'll do some more of these. I think that's all for now. Take care. Stay well.